I have been asked many times as to whether I use a Wooting keyboard, and if not, when will I be getting one? And the answer has always been no, and not sure. The thing is, I have never put much thought into keyboards, and my focus is on aiming rather than movement, so it was simply never a priority for me. Mice and mouse pads have always been my wheelhouse. Well, the team at Wooting were kind enough to send me out a Wooting 60HE Plus, which has forced my hand, and I'm very glad for it. For the uninitiated, what's unique about them is that you can customize the actuation point of each key. If you want it to feel super responsive, you can set it very high so the slightest press registers, or you can set it low so you need a full press to register it. They can do a lot more, but that's the main point of difference. I think what's important about this review is that it's from the perspective of someone who has never modded a keyboard, changed out or lubed switches, replaced keycaps, etc. So for me, it's really all about the out-of-the-box feel and performance and how easy it is to configure. Is it only worth it if you're a keyboard enthusiast, or can a wider audience, including myself, find value in it? My previous keyboard was an Acco 3084. It's fairly cheap and importantly to me had a 75% layout without a gap between the numbers and the F keys. I do a lot of video editing and reviewing footage frame by frame, plus I play other genres like MMOs where having these extra keys is very useful. You can still use these keys by holding down function and hitting the corresponding key on a 60% layout, but it's just another step and it can be hard to remember and easy to mess up. Wooting are about to release an 80% version, which is great if you happen to prefer a certain layout, and in the future that's likely the keyboard and layout I'll be swapping to. I'll start out with the basics and then I'll get into the gameplay specifics. As for the build quality, it feels solid, sturdy, and there's not a lot of excess trim or anything else to get in the way. There's just enough to rest my pinky on the edge, which is all I want. There is this little loop right here that you can attach a strap to. Personally, that doesn't interest me and I've left mine empty. Although I do think it's a neat idea for them to make their keyboard stand out, I'm just more of a function over aesthetics kind of guy. A small thing that I do really like is this braided colored cable. I have so many cables on my desk from mice, mics, webcam, lights, and so on that just blend together, and I'm often unplugging the wrong thing by accident, but not this keyboard. I know I've kind of glossed over the keyboard itself section, but honestly I don't have strong opinions on it, or much prior knowledge to draw from, so for how the switches feel, sound, and so on, it's best left up to other reviewers. My specialty is in the gameplay and performance, which I'll get into now. First and foremost, the word that keeps coming to mind when summarizing what makes this keyboard different to me is responsiveness. It feels like there's less latency between your actions and what happens on screen. So let's look at how that is being achieved. Wooting has this Wootility web app which lets you configure your keyboard in real time through your browser. No downloads necessary, which is awesome. I'll run you through my current setups and what they do. This one is for general FPS gameplay. I have the actuation points all set to 0.8mm, which is fairly high up and responsive, with two exceptions. My hand rests on the keyboard at a comfortable slant, but this also means my ring finger that sits on the A key is resting more heavily than my other fingers. What I found was that I was constantly actuating A on accident and moving left when I didn't mean to. Fortunately, you can set per key actuation points, so for A, I have this set to 1.4, which requires a slightly deeper press, which eliminated my accidental inputs from that heavier resting position. I also have Q set to 2, so I don't accidentally use an important ability or swap weapons depending on the game from fat fingering it. I also have another version of this for Apex that is set up for super glides in particular. I've never bothered to learn movement tech, but the wooting seemed like a good opportunity to try, or at least to see if it makes it more approachable. On this one, I have C, which is my crouch, set to 4. That means I have to fully press it in for it to register. And I have spacebar, so my jump, set to 2.5. I tried a bunch of different configurations and this one felt the most practical to use in game. To super glide, you have to hit crouch 1 frame after jumping. That's a tight window, and with high actuation points at 0.8, I was finding it difficult to do consistently. My goal was to set the actuation points of crouch and spacebar to values that let me push both keys fully in at the same time, but with one frame between each of them registering. It was also important to test it while holding my normal WASD position. You can cheese your consistency with specific positioning, but if that's not how you play in game, then it's useless. With this setup, I can use my thumb to press both keys down at the same time, and my goal is simply to press them in quickly, as I would in game. They both hit the bottom at the same time, but the spacebar actuates slightly earlier, and the crouch registers a little later, giving me that one frame difference. This also means it's basically impossible to hit crouch too early, which would mean there's a 0% chance of the super glide working. If I mess up the speed of the key press, it almost always means there's just a lower chance of success, not a flat out 0%. And just like that, I have extremely consistent super glides at high FPS with barely any practice. In comparison, on my Akko, trying to press them slightly apart for that one frame, I can still land them, but I experience many more 0% chance events. If you are a movement player or someone that wants to get into it but finds it daunting and difficult, this definitely does make it more accessible. The other aspect of performance I wanted to cover was in MOBAs. Against my better judgment, I started learning some League of Legends. This started just before the Wooting arrived. Post-Wooting, with a profile at 0.7 actuation points, I was shocked at how different it felt. Sure, I could feel the responsiveness in FPS games, but honestly, it was probably most noticeable in MOBAs. Your abilities feel like they fire off exactly when you intend them to, and when playing champs like Irelia and Vel'Koz, that really did feel great. I was also able to set my D key, which is flash, to have a lower actuation point at 1.2. With it set to 0.7, I was often accidentally using it when hitting the nearby keys. Funnily enough, when writing out this script, I saw Wooting had a section on League on their website, and their video also mentioned setting D and F, your summoner abilities, to something lower like 1.3. I think it's interesting that we both independently came to the same conclusion, and it does lend some credence to the idea that there are optimal actuation points for keys in certain games, and without this functionality, you'd simply not have access to it. The cost of this keyboard is 260 Australian dollars, and another 45 to have it shipped here for a total of 305 AUD. If this wasn't sent out to me, would I personally buy it? I think without ever trying it, the answer would be no, and it had been a no. But after using it for over a month now and seeing what this keyboard can really do, the answer has to be a yes. Although I would clarify that I personally wouldn't go for this 60% version and would wait for the 80% that better suits my purposes. It's a lot of money for something I previously never thought much about. The 4-year warranty makes me feel a bit better about it, and I can think of it as a buy once, cry once premium item that is going to give me the best functionality there is for many years to come. Ultimately, this keyboard won't suddenly make you a god tier gamer. In the grand scheme of things, whatever gains this keyboard provides would pale in comparison to putting some extra effort into focused practice into the mechanics and strategy of whatever game you are playing. While it's an awesome piece of tech that is undoubtedly better than any standard keyboard, it is up to you to decide if it's worth the price tag. You shouldn't feel FOMO or that by not owning one you're being held back. If you are thinking of picking one up and would like to support the channel, you can use my affiliate link in the description and the pinned comment. Thanks so much for watching, be sure to subscribe for more content like this, and I'll catch you in the next one.